creating warm, welcome spaces throughout the county. We're really, really keen to look at coverage across the county. And one of the things that we discussed as a public services board was how we present those opportunities, how we, what we call them, how we go about it, because we just want to really reduce the stigma and make sure that the people that we really need to be reaching are part of it and feel welcome and part of the process. So Catherine will be covering some of that next. Felly ni'n awyddus iawn fel rhan o trafodaeth Bwrdd Gwasanaethau Cyhoeddus. Ond ni'n awyddus iawn i sicrhau bod ni'n creu cyfleoedd i bobl dod at ei gilydd a bod y cyfleoedd na'n croesawgar ac yn agored ofnadw i sicrhau bod ni yn denu a cynnwys y bobl sydd wir angen o fewn yn cymunedau. A fydd Catherine yn gweud ychydig fwy am na nesa. Felly at y ti, Catherine. Over to you, Catherine.
Diolch yn fawr, Hazel. So Catherine Morgan ydw i. Dwi'n cydlynu gwaith tlodi a cydraddoldeb gyda Cyngor Sir Ceredigion. I coordinate the poverty-related work with Ceredigion County Council. And hi, Madeline. We worked together ages ago. I ate loads of your lovely food. So yes. And I attended a Warm Welcome UK launch event back in September, and I'd been asked to pull together a small group of people to sort of get a network of warm spaces set up across Ceredigion. So it was great to attend this Warm Welcome UK launch event because it gave me loads of pointers and ideas. There were hundreds of people there from right across the UK, loads and loads of different groups. So I just wanted to share with you really a synopsis of that event to give you a flavour of what other people are doing across the UK and generate some ideas and discussions around that. And then after that, we have set up an online survey, and I've been collecting information about warm welcome spaces that have been set up or in process of being set up across Ceredigion, and it's all set out in a map, so I can share the map with you so you can see the coverage and the gaps. So I'll just go through the synopsis first of the Warm Welcome UK launch event. So the aim was to get loads of groups across the UK to offer a warm space to citizens who are struggling over the winter. And their location, they had set up a map as well, so people can easily find their warm welcome space. But we've got a Ceredigion one as well. So criteria for being a warm welcome space: keeping it simple as possible is what they suggested, and we felt the same way really with our little local group. So obviously safeguarding is important, ideas for activities, maybe fun, things should be free, but there may be charges for some things. It's got to be warm, obviously. There should be hot drinks for people. There's got to be staff who are prepared to welcome people and bring them into the shared space, and it's got to be safe. So keeping it really simple, 4 main criteria really: free, warm, safe and welcoming. And then there were just loads of ideas and comments that I copied out from the chat bar and people talking. So I'll just run through those now. So people are talking about being open when cafes are shut, so from 5 p.m. onwards, community kitchens, tea time, warm spaces, children's clothes banks. Somebody from Rochdale said their project is called Healthy Foundations, and they run a low-cost cafe 1 day a week with free tea and toast and drop in a free craft group, and they're about to open a charity store. And people are saying, you know, what's already planned? Is there any way for existing activities to be enhanced to offer a warm welcome? And many groups have got volunteers that help to deliver existing projects. So maybe start recruiting extra volunteers to help to offer a warm welcome. And some people may not feel comfortable just going to a warm welcome space to sit and receive services. So for those people, it's something for them to be able to do, and also keeping warm as well and meeting people. Do you know what? I'm stumbling a little bit because I'm having real trouble with my connection, and I've got all my loads and loads of notes on my other screen and it's disappeared. and my connection's going in and out. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah, ni'n gallu clywed ti, Catherine, it's fine. Your connection is good on Zoom, but obviously not working not working for you in terms of the
Everything's
document.
flashing like mad for me. This happened a couple of days ago. I'm going to have to stop, I'm afraid. And I'm wondering if Teleri, I know Teleri's got a slot and Mike have got a slot.
Yeah, we'll come back and we'll pick up on some of those points as we go along, Catherine. Pwyntiau pwysig iawn. Achos o'n ni yn yr un sesiwn, we both attended the same session, didn't we, Catherine? And there were a couple of other people from Ceredigion who joined us as well. And it was quite interesting what some of those who were already participating were saying about the need. They were seeing more and more people that were needing a space to work from. Because many people are now working from home, and actually as we move into the winter months, then people are going to struggle. People are going to find it hard to heat their own homes, to work from home. So some people needed that kind of quiet workspace as well, and they were just really fantastic little tips, pethau bach sydd yn neud gymaint o wahaniaeth, small things that make a huge difference. They were just talking about think about your lighting. Maybe you need to change your lighting a little more so that you've got slightly warmer light than brighter light. And they were talking about sofas and cushions and more maybe relaxing spaces, and whether you can split your room or split your hall or split your space into different spaces for different people. Just really good examples and really good pointers. Oedd e wir yn cyfarfod gwerthchweil. And we'll come back to you, Catherine, if there was anything that you'd missed.
Thank you. Yes, they were also talking about a plea for making places dementia friendly.
Yeah.
Possible as well. I know there's a lot of work been happening around dementia friendly spaces in Ceredigion. But yes, please do come back to me. My screens are just flashing and beeping. I can't even mute myself, sorry.
Oh, no, mae'n iawn, dim problem, Catherine, no problem. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about the map and the survey? Because many of you may have already completed the survey. Efallai bod rhai o chi wedi llenwi'r arolwg. But we're still open, isn't it, Catherine? We're still accepting information about warm spaces, or if you're interested in warm spaces, or if you're representing a group or an organisation or a service that would be really interested in knowing more about the warm spaces and maybe be able to offer something through those warm spaces. Os bod chi eisiau cynnig rhywbeth, cynnig lle neu cynnig gwasanaeth trwy'r Mannau Croeso Cynnes, mae'r arolwg dal ar agor. So Catherine, I'm not sure whether you're able to tell us a little bit more about the map and the survey.
I can. I was hoping to share. Oh, do you know what? Everything's calmed down now. It's all gone quiet again. Yes, so we've set up an online survey so we can share the link with everybody here. It has been shared quite widely, but we're bound to have missed somebody out. And it's just sort of asking, diolch Teleri, for your what you're offering, where your warm spaces, and the contact details for the warm space. And then we're putting those, the results of the survey then onto a map, which is not, it is publicly available, but it's kind of hidden at the moment because we've got 14 warm spaces on it. So it's warm and it's English and it's Welsh. So people will be able to then just link on the Connect website and on the Ceredigion website to that map to find the nearest warm spaces. Diolch Teleri, ti'n rhoi popeth yn y chat I fi, diolch yn fawr iawn. And yes, we can see the gaps then, and the survey is not going to close. We'll just keep it open and we'll just keep adding to it as people go along. There's 3 of us who know now how to put the details on, so So, you know, people, annual leave, sickness over winter, COVID, cross fingers, isn't going to affect anything. So we'll just keep adding to it. And what we'll do as well is keep an eye on the Warm Welcomes UK map, because there may be people who've heard about that, but haven't maybe heard about this one. So we can contact them then if they're in Ceredigion and ask if we can add them to our map.
A bob yna hyn wedyn, nawn ni rhannu'r link i'r arolwg. Every now and again, we'll recirculate and share the link to the survey so that it's not forgotten. So if you can share it with anybody else in your communities, then that would be fantastic. Because what we want people to do is to think about what else is happening in their area, I ystyried beth arall sy'n digwydd yn eich ardal. So you can then think about what days you should be open, what you should be offering. You can start conversations with other warm welcome spaces in your area, so we can make sure that we've got really good coverage and really good activity across Ceredigion. Bwysig iawn bod ni'r cynnig ar draws Ceredigion, a bod chi wedyn felly yn cysylltu ag yn siarad gydag eraill yn eich ardal sy'n cynnig Mannau Croeso Cynnes. So, Catherine, mae'r map lan, the map is up.
Mae'r map lan, tyma bach yn patchy, a mi'n credu cyfrifiadur fi yw hynna. Ond chi sy'n gweld, fi'n clico fan hyn, cwni, Helen, hwb gymunedol Borth, Clarach Road, activities, gweithgareddau ar gael, caffi, talu fel chi'n timlo, Pays You Keep Feel Cafe, a crochet class, games area and talks and other activities. Open on Fridays from 9 till 3:30. Manylion cyswllt, contact details, Helen Williams and helen@borthfamilycentre.co.uk. So if I scroll out a bit, you can see, I'm going too fast for my map. There are 7 in the north area at the moment, in the Aberystwyth area. And there are 3 in Lampeter, 3 in Cardigan, 1 in Llantysil, which isn't on the map yet. But there is quite a gap in the middle of the county. Yeah, you can see my computer's not quite playing ball yet. It's just showing a bit of the map.
You're working it too hard, Catherine.
I am.
Diane. So if you notice that there are vast areas in Ceredigion that aren't covered and you might be there, we might be giving you a call and encouraging you to think about what could be done in your area. Mi fyddwn ni yn mynd allan a targedu ardalodd lle does dim cefnogaeth ar gael. Felly os bych chi yn yr ardalodd na ar y map, wedyn felly gewch chi galwad oddi wrthyn ni. We will be quite proactive. And we'll be wanting to cover off some of those areas where we haven't got dots on the map.
And your activity could be, you know, like we were saying, adding to an existing activity, or, you know, a cup of tea and come and have a game of bingo or Scrabble, or, you know, putting a film night on with Prosecco and popcorn. You know, it depends on how much money you've got available to support it, or how much you can raise locally. But also there is the funding grant that Cavo and, well, Cavo's running, but there's money coming in from various different pots to support that. So Hilary will talk about that later. And some people don't have a building themselves, but they can offer activities. So you can contact us on the survey or just email us really, and we want to get a list together of resources like period poverty products, people like Citizens Advice who can offer sessions, information leaflets. We've got the community connectors and how will our community outreach workers who are going out to community venues all the time. So we can, you know, we can get information out there so people in the community know what's available to support them. Because this isn't just, you know, it is about coming together and socialising and keeping warm, but there's also lots of other things going on in people's lives that we can get information to people as well.
Ie, mae hwnna'n bwynt pwysig yn dweud, Catherine, dath trwyddo o'r sesiwn cenedlaethol am bod ti gweithgareddau sy'n digwydd yn barod. Really important that we recognise the fantastic activities that are already being provided across Ceredigion. And it's quite interesting, from that national meeting, one of the things that stayed with me is that they said it's like, how did they put it, Catherine? It's like putting a warm wrapper around things that we're already doing. So it doesn't necessarily need to be anything new. Does dim angen iddo fe fod yn newydd, but you might be in a position to be able to offer what you're doing maybe at different times, or extend what you're doing, or maybe, you know, the cost of heating, the cost of electric and gas is going up. You might need a little extra money to make sure that you're able to provide what you're doing throughout the winter. Ni'n agored i'r cyfan, we're open to all of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be new, and really welcome an extension of what you're already doing. As long as it's warm, as long as it's open and accessible to all, that's fantastic. Diolch bod yn lle cynnes a bod yn agored I bawb, na beth sy'n bwysig I ni. And in terms of partnering up with others and working with others, one of the other really interesting things that were highlighted at the national meeting, Catherine, was they were talking a lot about churches and chapels, and some people who were in buildings and halls that were quite difficult to heat, but they had loads of volunteers that were willing to help. So they would then work with somebody else in the community that did have a space that was a little easier to warm and a little more welcoming, but they could provide the volunteers. So so it might be a case of working together with others in your community to provide the most appropriate space. Efallai bod e werth I weithio gydag eraill I wneud yn siŵr bod digon o wirfoddolwyr dych chi a man cynnes priodol perthnasol gyda chi yn y gymuned. And Catherine mentioned earlier, and Catherine sôn yn gynt, bod e'n bwysig bod bobl dachu I groesawu. It's really, really important that you have people there to welcome others, and it might be an idea to get people to bring a friend or bring a couple of people along, so that we've got more people who are who feel able to attend the spaces. And if you are struggling for volunteers, or if you need a little bit of support with volunteers, then contact us, contact CAFO, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction and maybe help you promote some of those opportunities. Os bod angen gwirfoddolwyr arnoch chi, wedyn cysylltwch â CAFO, efallai allwn ni helpu. A fi'n credu bod e'n bwysig hefyd bod ni'n cynnig y cyfle I bobl I wirfoddoli, I gefnogi'r mannau cynnes, achos felly fydde rhai yn well dyn nhw, felly fydde well dyn nhw I gynorthwyo yn hytrach na troi lan, ond mae popeth yn help. Really important as well that you think about promoting the opportunity for people to help at the sessions, because some people might be a little bit too proud maybe just to turn up, but they might be more than willing to help. And of an evening, of a weekend, you might have quite a few people who would be really interested in volunteering at the warm welcome space, rather than stay at home and heat their own homes. So could be an opportunity to engage with a few more people to volunteer in the communities as well. So so it's another option for people to get involved and directly engage with the warm welcome spaces. Catherine mentioned information sheets. Apparently there's an information sheet for carers that we're trying to get our hands on, and there are lots of other information sheets as well. Citizens Advice, Age Cymru, the connectors. We've got lots of people who are really interested in joining you and joining any warm welcome spaces that we've got across Ceredigion, just to talk to people, to support people, and we've run an energy advice session with colleagues down in Cardigan, and it's really, really useful stuff. And I know Nest and Citizens Advice are very, very keen to work with others and make sure that we're sharing that information as widely as possible across Ceredigion. Bwysig iawn bod ni'n rhannu gwybodaeth hefyd i'r bobl sy'n mynychu yn mannau Croeso Cynnes. A mae 'na un cynnig arall dyn ni hefyd. We do have one other offer, which is a really interesting, exciting one actually. And Teleri will tell us a little bit more about the offer from Book a Bus.
So and following a press release last week about inviting everyone here, Book a Bus team noticed that press release and contacted us saying that they're really keen to work with venues in their designated area. Nawr, mae Book Bus yn keen iawn I cael clywed wrthoch chi ac I cydweithio chi yn yr ardal benodol. Now, I'll share later on in the chat the link to Book a Bus, but the area stretches from Llangeitho, Pennant, Cileron, Crescent, Ynadem, Bryn Hoffnant, Trydlewis, Drodair, Beulah, Newcastle Emlyn, Llandyssil, Llanybydder, and then Llambedr back to Llangeitho. So that's a big circle in the middle of the county. There are 4 buses covering the area, and the buses overlap each other, so to ensure coverage. There are shortages of drivers at the moment, but if they know that you're opening up a venue in a certain area, they'll ensure that there is a driver available that day to cover that area. So they're very keen on to work with us. I always thought of Book a Bus as you have to book in advance and you want to pick up at bus stops, but apparently things have changed, it's been updated. So you can book a journey just up to 90 minutes before you want to tend to leave. So 90 minutes before that, you can ring them, you can book online or through the app. And if you did it through the app, you can also track the bus towards you, coming towards you, so you know exactly when to go outside to catch the bus. And the bus can pick you up from either the local bus stop, or if you live on a road, they'll pick you up from outside your house. So it doesn't, for me, I'll have to go up the farm lane to catch it, but they will pick me up from top of the lane. They also said that all the buses are low, fully accessible, and space for a wheelchair. And they're also getting new buses very soon, so they'll be nice and warm and cozy. So hopefully individuals will be warm, travelling to your warm space as well. The service is open 7 AM to 7 PM, Monday to Saturdays. And passengers, the journey is also free for many passengers, especially if they have a bus pass. So they're keen for anyone opening a venue in that area to contact them. So they're hoping to arrange a shifts of drivers to ensure that people can go to your locations. And they encourage anyone individual who wants to book them to contact them, phone them, or do it through the app. Yeah, so that's Book a Bus.
Awyddus iawn I weithio ar y cynnig na, very keen to work on that offer, particularly in very rural areas, because it would be really good to get feedback on how effective that's been and to see whether we can maintain that relationship for other things that you're organising in your communities as well, particularly events and activities that might be being held in the winter, later on in the evening, where people aren't quite so confident driving, even if they are happy driving in the summer. Some people aren't as keen during the winter. Felly, awyddus iawn I weithio gyda Book a Bus, yn enwedig yn y rhai o'n ardalodd fwy agledig, jyst mae bach o brawf yn dywe ar y system I weld beth allwn ni wneud wedi'r Mannau Croeso Cynnes a gweithgareddau sydd gyda ni trwy gydol y flwyddyn. So a really good potential relationship. Diolch I ti, Teleri. And the Book a Bus team did say, didn't they, that they will be checking the map. But we might proactively, if you're interested in working with Book a Bus, let us know. We might link you up quite proactively just to see what we can do, particularly if you're in a very rural area.
Yeah,
Ydy hwnna'n deg, Teleri?
If you're in the area, so chi fewn yr ardal, a chi am gydweithio â team Book a Bus, yeah. If you're in the area, want to work with the Book a Bus team, let me know, because they're willing for me to share the direct contact details. Good. So you can contact them direct.
Teleri, allu di rannu'r ardalodd na to? Di'n rhwydd I rannu'r ardalodd na to trwy'r chat? Is it easy to share some of those areas in the chat column?
Fi hel y link.
Mae fe arno, nawr fi'n gweld e. Fantastic. So check the link, see whether you're covered, and yeah, we'll take them up on that offer. Fantastic, diolch. Now, important if we're doing something additional or maybe encouraging more people to join us to think about risk assessments as well. Mae'n bwysig bod ni'n ystyried risg hefyd gyda asesiadau risgs gyda unrhyw gweithgaredd a unrhyw digwyddiadau felly fyddwn ni'n denu fwy o bobl atyn nhw. So Mike has kindly joined us this morning to take us through some of the key points.
Right up, pawb. Good morning to you all. Thanks for inviting me along, Hazel. Don't want to put stop to anything, and everybody, oh, health and safety, here we go. Look out. But it's all about just really providing, and most sort of community venues are already set up to provide a safe environment. So the sort of things I would expect you to sort of consider first, obviously safe access for anybody who might want to use it, and being inclusive, of course, so everybody can get in there, whether you might, may take that into consideration, that all sorts may want to turn up. So therefore, we've got to allow as many people in as we can. And also, general maintenance, is everything in good order? We're avoiding sort of simple things like slips and trips. Are the floor surfaces in good condition? Are they suitable for people to move it around in? What about things like the power supplies, the heating supply? Are they all serviced? Are they all up to date? Is everything in place? Just those sort of basic, simple things. Don't complicate things too much. It's simple. General maintenance. Has the boiler been serviced in the last 12 months? Has somebody done a quick check of the access, the conditions of the building, the areas you're going to be using? Other things to consider as well. Unfortunately, we still haven't got out this COVID situation yet, but we're sort of moving towards not so much COVID cautious, but general infection prevention and control. So keeping a place and environment clean, making sure the facilities are there for people to use if they need be. Ventilation is quite important as well. Can a window be open? I'm not talking about having to have the windows open all the time. Obviously, we're trying to prepare and create a warm space. It's having can some sort of ventilation go in there? We don't want to create the warm to be too stuffy, and yes, we are creating a warm space. We want to make it too stuffy, so we need to have some sort of ventilation, so that at least there are some air changes in there. It's become quite evident throughout this whole pandemic that ventilation and personal and good hygiene is key to preventing anything spreading around. And this applies to most sort of infections or risks to our health in one way or the other. Also bear in mind fire safety. Again, this all comes down with your access and egress. Can people get out in the event of an emergency quickly? Have you got access to good doors to a safe area outside somewhere where people can go to? And bearing in mind, again, all abilities that everybody can get out safely, and to that point. You may, depending on where you are, I wouldn't say it's necessary. You may already have sort of some firefighting equipment in there, like fire extinguishers, things like that. If you haven't, these things can be bought from supermarkets, etc. You don't have to have a huge fire extinguisher there, but just it's a means of being prepared to, if you do need to evacuate in any particular rush, you can get out as you've got means there to put a fire out if necessary, whether it be a fire blanket or a simple little fire extinguisher. Maintenance, we've talked about that. Access, ventilation, first aid, has just a bit of basic first aid provision. Have you got somebody, don't necessarily have to be a first aider, but have they got some sort of training in first aid? Do they understand what to do? Maybe just providing some assistance and dialing 999. At least you've got a procedure there to assist people with. Excuse me. I'm thinking about sort of you mentioned earlier on about staying sort of 5 p.m. evenings, stuff like that. Is the lighting outside, is that adequate? Will people feel safe getting there, getting out? Have you got suitable lighting outside? Bear that in mind. We have got a simple, I think you will be putting together a risk assessment as well as does that include a checklist as well, Hazel? Have you got a sort of...
Mike, I can't recall now what we created, but right at the end of when we were moving away from being COVID focused, it was a really good opportunity, wasn't it, to think about risk assessments in general. And we did have a template, and I think if I remember rightly, there was a bit of a checklist, a basic checklist attached to that. But if not, we can adapt what we've got, because that kind of checklist is always really useful, particularly if there's a committee or a few people involved in some of that, then it's quite useful to know that things have been done.
And it's quite important to complete that, because that shows you've taken due diligence, you've thought about the situation, you've given it some consideration, and where possible you've tried to reduce or mitigate those risks, or to anybody, and you've done everything you so reasonably can. We're not expecting it to be a perfect place. It's just there are, these buildings, you're adapting them to offer a warm space for a warm welcome to people, and it's not going over the top. It's not spending a fortune on this. It's just making sure it is reasonable. I mean, I'm sure we as an authority, as Ceredigion County Council, have been out to a lot of community venues, been out there to assess them for the likes of election purposes and things. So we've already been to look at a lot of the community buildings, village halls, etc., around Ceredigion, and they're all adequate. They're all suitable for most things. I think it just needs to consider, say, if you are a private business or you're something else and you're inviting people in to use your facilities, then obviously just take that little bit of a consideration. Can they get in there safely? Can they get out of there safely? And are they safe whilst they're in there? And it doesn't involve spending huge amounts of money, but more than happy to offer advice and assistance wherever possible. We can, for you, if anybody's got any questions, any concerns, if we're out and about, if I'm in that area, would happily call in and have a quick look as well to assist. If you have got any concerns, by all means. Please don't get too taken in and bogged down in health and safety. That's not what it's about. It's providing a nice place for somebody to go to.
And as you say, Mike, it's sometimes about just reminding ourselves of the basics that we need to be thinking of, especially with trips and falls and lighting if we're doing anything of an evening. And I just want to labour the point slightly that you made about COVID. Yr pwynt gath I godi ambyti Covid yma, tymor y ffliw ar ein pennau ni hefyd. Mae fe wir yn bwysig bod ni dal yn ystyried glendid yn y ffordd na, a os bod ydych chi sanitizer yn bod i'r lle, mae fe werth dod â hwnnw mas eto, os na bod wedi cael ei roed gadw. COVID is still about, and they are predicting an earlier and slightly more severe flu season this year as well. So if you've got hand sanitizer, think about hand sanitizer. If you've put it away, then bring it out. Make sure that everybody has plenty of opportunity to wash their hands, and that you've got the posters in your toilets just outlining the basic hand washing procedure. They're always handy. It's always a really good reminder. And if you do have hand sanitizer, then please have it out for people unavailable. And also consider just gently telling people and letting people know that if they feel unwell, not to attend, because the worst thing is for those kind of viruses to be spread in small spaces. It's not something that we want to do, really. So so if you can get that message out, if you're not feeling well, then stay at home and look after yourself, rather than share anything that they might have with others. Mae fe'n anodd, it's very, very difficult to do that, but that might be quite an important message through the winter. Neges pwysig efallai drwy gydol y geia.
Yeah, just to add on that, just make sure your hygiene facilities are there. You've got running water.
And bins with covers, and going back to those kind of things that are quite sensible actually throughout the winter, isn't it? Quite sensible precautions.
Yeah, just make sure those are all working. You've got hot water at the tap, preferably. Soap and water is fine, a lot better than hand sanitizer. And so if you've got those more available, no extra cost to you, really. No, it's a cheaper way of doing it.
Fantastic. So yeah, really important considerations during the winter. The other thing that I just wanted to mention briefly was insurance, yswiriant eich lleoliad. Fydd rhan fwyaf chi'n iawn, most of you will be perfectly covered, but it's worth just double checking your insurance policy just to make sure it covers whatever you intend to do. Again, one of the things that we forget at times, isn't it? But for most of you, that won't be an issue, but worth a double check. Nawr, Teleri, dyn ni ddim wedi sôn am y grant eto. We haven't mentioned the grant yet, and as well, we're hoping to be able to share some resources and encourage you to have discussions as well. So, Teleri, ti sy'n fynd â ni trwyddo cyfleoedd.
Ie. Ydych chi'n gweld sgrin fi nawr?
Odi, mae fel land ni.
Okay. Mae rhywun yn chi ysbero, so fi ddim yn mynd i wneud hwn. Gwefan cysylltu Ceredigion i hwn. Adnodd i pawb, prif i chi logio arno. This is Connect Ceredigion. It's a website free for anyone to use and to log on. On the homepage, there is a special campaign for welcome warm spaces. I've jumped onto this page directly just because of I'm recording, so it slows down my internet. So once you're on Connect Ceredigion, click on the campaign, you'll get to this page. On the page, there's a link to the map again, so you know all where the areas are. And there's an opportunity to say more about when you're open, what kind of activity to do. There's a link to the funding application, and I'll mention more about that in a minute. But also, more importantly, there's a Teams opportunity. Well, very slowly, let the scene space. This is an area for you as venues to talk to each other, a forum for you to chat, a place for us to share documents. So we will share the risk assessment templates, the checklist, a poster template for you to use if you want to. And there's opportunity then just to see if you have concern about, you want to know, oh, we need more people, how do you promote it? Any ideas or more information about Bookbus or other travel arrangements? This opportunity to discuss and talk to each other as venues. I'll share the link to that in the chats, but I'll mention a bit more about the funding. But there is the funding available for you to establish form spaces. Mae'n arian i gael i chi, lan i 1,000 bunnau, sy'n cael ei gwneud trwy gan Cafo. A mae'r ffilfen gais i gael ar-lein. Gallwch e-bost y ffilfen gais i chi gweithio ar Word, neu gallai danfon copi papur y mas i chi. Mae'r arian gyfer revenue yn bennaf, sef costio helpu chi talu am costiau rhedeg ac ei arwyddo'r llefydd, ond hefyd yn bach elfen o capital os chi am prynu offer bach. There is funding available to help you to establish warm spaces. It's up to £1,000. The funding application is available online, and I'll share the link later on the chat. I can email the application form to you, so you can work it on a Word document, or I can post it out and you can an old-fashioned paper copy and post it back to me. It is promptly revenue funding, so to help to pay for expenses and costs to run the warm spaces, but to help promoting it. But there is a little element of capital for small items, for example, flasks, cups, or games boards, chess cards, anything. Be imaginative.
Actually, clearly flasks might be a good idea, so people can help themselves if you're limited in terms of volunteers and helpers. That could be an interesting way forward. Felly mae'r grant ar gael os bod eisiau unrhyw gefnogaeth arno chi. Ond fel o'n i'n gweud, does dim rhaid i beth i chi'n neud bod yn newydd. Mae'n groeso i chi i gofrestru eich gweithgareddau os bod nhw'n ffito mewn i'r categori na o Mannau Croeso Cynnes. Fi jyst yn atgoffa'n hunan nawr, Catherine, o'r elfennau, bod y lle'n cynnes, bod e'n groesawgar a bod e'n saff, yn dyfa, na'r 3 pwynt penna fi'n credu. So there's a grant scheme to support you if you do need any funding, but as we've been saying, if you're running activities, community activities anyway, please register them as warm spaces, because I think there are 3 criteria, Catherine, that that space is warm, that it's welcoming and open to everybody, and that it's safe.
Yes,
and I think they're the 3 ones, the 3 main ones. So what you're doing already might just fit the bill. You don't need to call it a warm space. We just need to encourage people to come together. Sorry, Catherine.
Oh yeah, I couldn't grab my mute. Yeah, well, 4 main criteria of Warm Welcome UK in dweud, on 3, but there could be a charge.
3, yeah, of course, 3 was the other one.
Warm space, safe and welcoming, yeah. Yeah. A mae logos ar gael hefyd. Dyn ni ddim wedi creu logos penodol I Ceredigion. We haven't created Ceredigion specific logos, although Caris that I work with has started looking at that. But Teleri did contact Warm Welcome UK, and they have provided us with Welsh logos as well as English logos. So we could circulate those. That people can make into posts and just put up, you know, if the branding becomes a thing. And I think people are talking about it on the television and nationally now, aren't they? So that might be another thing. People think, oh, I can go there, and they'll know what it means because it's been in the media quite a lot.
Gallai, a hwnna enghraifft o rhywbeth gallwn ni rhannu ar cysylltu Ceredigion. So example of something we can share and connect Ceredigion in the chat, in the teams, is the Welcome Homes bilingual logo.
Yes.
And if you need any help with Connect Ceredigion, please contact us. And Rebecca, who is behind the Cavo logo there, is more than happy to help anyone with Connect.
I was thinking as well with Connect, un peth arall allan ni fod yn rhannu, bydde'n defnyddiol ar cyswllt Ceredigion hefyd, would be really, really useful to share any safeguarding templates that we have. Most of you will have safeguarding policies, safeguarding procedures, but it might be quite useful for us to share a few good templates, or if you want to share what you're already using, because obviously you need to think about that in your own context and adapt, but be really, really good to use Connect to share best practice and start these conversations and identify some of the gaps. That would be fantastic. So in terms of the grant, just mynd nôl i'r grant, unfortunately, we haven't got an unlimited amount of funding. That's why we're just saying a maximum of 1,000. I know that's not huge, and we'd like to be able to offer so much more. But we want to be able to support as many venues as possible across Ceredigion. So we're trying really, really hard to reassign and realign funding that we've already got to support this pot. And there's a little funding, Catherine, as well, that's coming through from Welsh Government for this purpose. But that wouldn't take us very, very far without being creative and looking for other opportunities. So
yeah, I think we've kind of spent that already, really.
Yeah, we have. So there isn't a deadline as such, but obviously the sooner the better. And we do already have some areas, sometimes some communities that have got really good provision. So we may put you on a reserve list if we need to be looking at exploring other opportunities in other communities, and we might link you up with offers in your own community if we've had quite a bit of interest already. So so yes, the grant scheme is open, but sooner the better. Fi'n credu gyntaf i'r gorau gyd, fi'n credu, Teleri, o ran wneud cais.
Gallai just dod mewn actually ar pethau grant. If I could just come in about the grant. The money we've received from Welsh Government, it's basically just to support warm welcome spaces, and it may be that more will come through as well. But one of the things they're asking is if we can let them know how many organisations we've supported with the grant. And as Hazel said, we're pooling money here, so it'll be quite blurry anyway, but it's great to work together, the Council and Cavo, doing it together because the money goes further then. But they're also interested to know how many people have been supported by the grant.
Yes.
So I don't know how we'll decide who we'll say has had the Welsh Government money and who has had additional other funding support things. But I may be in touch with people to ask for a sort of rough estimate or an exact figure of how many people you've supported with it, just a heads up.
Yeah, try and keep an eye on numbers. A un o'r pethau eraill i ni'n tynnu at ei gilydd hefyd, rhestr arall i ni'n tynnu at ei gilydd, yw rhestr o bobl sydd ag adnoddau i rannu gyda'r cyhoedd. The other thing that Catherine touched upon earlier is that we're putting together a list of organisations and groups that have resources that they can share with communities. Catherine, you mentioned period poverty products earlier. I know the fire service have got various home safety things that they need to get out to the communities. I think our team of connectors have got a stock of reflective sheets to go behind radiators. So we're trying to gather all of those resources as well to help and to be so that we can distribute some of those through our warm welcome hubs. Felly fyddwn ni mewn cysylltiad os fyddwch chi ar y map.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a two-pronged thing, that really, I
Yeah.
think. You know, we don't have the capacity to distribute lots of
No.
leaflets everywhere, because Citizens Advice was saying, oh, who do we send all our leaflets to get out? And I was thinking, oh gosh, we don't have the capacity to do that. So we'll try a two-pronged approach to it, that, you know, we'll try and collect what resources and activities we know are available and what services people offer. But we'll also just share the link to the map with everyone we know and say, look, if you're in that area and you want to offer an activity or support to a particular group, just their contact details, everything you need is on the map. So just give them a ring yourself and make the links, because, you know, people can be more proactive that way themselves.
A newn ni feddwl am ffyrdd hefyd I gael gwybodaeth allan os bod isie. You know, if you are a bit stretched and you haven't got your own printing facilities, then we will think of other ways of doing that, whether we can do that through our libraries, through our connectors, or we can do a few trips if we're going to come out and see you anyway. We might be able to bring a handful of printed information sheets. So we'll explore opportunities to get paper copies of any information sheets through to you as well. We'll see whether we can work that one out. Good bod ni'n barod ar gyfer y sesiwn cwestiwn ag ateb. I think we've moved on nicely to our question and answer session. Anything exciting that's come up? Again, we'll follow up with some of these queries. We'll email you. But what are the key highlights, Rebecca, that have come through?
So there's only a couple really that haven't been answered. Mainly asking about the information sheets, the carers sheet, and the other stuff. So we'll share them. I'm taking it.
No, yeah, I'll take responsibility for that one. It was mentioned at a meeting yesterday afternoon. So I have said I want to see that information sheet because I hadn't, and we want to be distributing that through our welcome hub. So I need to chase that up and make sure that we've got access to electronic copies in Ceredigion.
And Helen wanted to know if they should log the Children's Food Bank on the Warm Welcome Space register, and could that be funded by the grant as well?
If not this grant, maybe another grant. Helen, are you offering a meal, or are you offering a kind of an opportunity for people to stay as well?
Sorry, it was a children's clothes bank. Sorry.
Oh yeah, clothes bank. Okay.
Children's clothes bank. Yeah.
Well, you can definitely list it as a service, can't you? So if people are coming in, then it's something, because we want to be, you know, it needs to be through age, doesn't it? We want everybody to be able to attend these sessions, these warm welcome spaces. So it's just another thing that you're offering in that space, isn't it, Helen, if it's accessible all the time? So really worth promoting.
Okay, yeah, I'll add that on as well then. Yeah.
Good, add it on. Your list is increasing, Helen.
Helen, do you want me to just email Caris quick and ask her to add it to the to your listing?
Yes, please. I struggle a bit with all this. I'm not very IT okay even now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
And we all need a Caris. I think it's true, isn't it, Catherine? Yeah. Da iawn. Any other questions? Unrhyw cwestiwn eraill, Rebecca?
So Emma's already had her question answered about the Windows survey closed, so that's not going to be closed, that's going to stay open.
We'll continue to push that.
Another one about any more information sheets, especially one for carers, so we've answered that one. And John asked, and again he's had it answered, but can existing community groups, associations register for the warm space?
Definitely, if you meet, I think we said that there were 4 criteria in the end. Oedd 4 elfen, Catherine yn y diwedd, bod bod e'n gynnes, that it's warm, obviously, that it's welcoming, bod e'n groesawgar iawn, bod e'n saff, that it's safe, and then that you know, rather than free, that there's access. I think it's really important that people have access to a kettle and have the opportunity to have a cup of tea or a coffee. I think that's really important. But in terms of activities, I think where it's a hook, isn't it? It's more of a hook to get people into the spaces. It's more of a reason for people to come along. So I think it's really important that these spaces are built around existing activities or new activities, so people have a reason to come together. I think we've had Teleri, is it 24 applications in already? And as you mentioned, Catherine, we've already got a few spaces up on the map. And it's quite interesting, you know, have a look on the map just to see what other people are offering, and you know, to see whether you fit or can fit really easily with a few adjustments. But yeah, existing activities, you don't need to be funded through the grant at all. If you're doing it already, or if it's been funded elsewhere, then please add it. The more the merrier, because you know, one of the closing remarks from the national meeting, you know, pwyntio nathon nhw gweud fel o'n nhw'n cau yr sesiwn genedlaethol, oedd ch'mod, all beth i ni wneud, arbed bywydau, what we're doing and what we're offering could actually save lives. So we are keen to promote any activities in the communities that gives somebody a safe, warm space to be. So definitely, we'll add it.
Hazel, I think Rachel has put a very exciting comment in the chat.
Oh,
Could we invite
share.
Rachel to say
Yeah,
a few
please,
words?
please, Rachel.
Cash, basically. Which
Oh,
I've
yeah,
already
definitely.
started with.
Floor's yours, Rachel.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to add that National Austria Community Fund, we've launched our cost of living funding.
Brilliant.
And that's it's been sort of based really on the People and Places medium grant, so for that platform, so up to 100,000 for projects that last over 2 years. And the type of inquiries we're having through that is funding to provide warm spaces, warm welcome places. So it's still a competitive process, and it's still a limited pot of funding.
Yeah.
So if anyone was looking at funding to potentially get applications in sooner rather than later as well. But yeah, I'll add my contact details into the chat. If there's any questions, then please do get in touch with me.
Great, diolch Rachel. A wedyn newn ni neud yn siŵr bod ni'n rhannu'r gwybodaeth now. We'll make sure that we are sharing that information far and wide, so you get a few applications from Ceredigion. Diolch Rachel, really appreciate that. Felly, os bod ni wedi mynd trwy'r sylwadau a'r cwestiynau gyd, if we've gone through all the questions and the comments, ni'n barod I gloi, fi'n credu. I think we're ready to close. It's been a fantastic session, and we will consider follow-up sessions as well. If you need a second session, maybe to take a bit more time to go through the map process or to go through the connect space, then let us know. We'll be more than happy to set up future sessions. And what I'd be very keen to do as well is to bring us all back together in a few weeks, a couple of months' time, just to have a chat about how we're getting on, and to share some ideas and to share some project details, and to share any positives and some of the challenges, so that we can work through some of those together. So ni'n awyddus iawn I gynnal sesiynau eraill yn y dyfodol, ond fydde fe'n grêt I ddod â pawb nôl at ei gilydd mewn rhyw fis I drafod beth sy'n digwydd hefyd. So contact us if you need anything. Cysylltwch â ni os fydd angen unrhyw beth arnoch chi, unrhyw wybodaeth pellach, a fi'n credu bod manylion cyswllt Carys Huntley gyda ni hefyd o ran y map a'r arolwg. We've also got Carys's details as well for the map and the survey. Felly, cofiwch prif nodwedder Mannau Croeso Cynnes. Just remember the key characteristics of the warm welcome spaces. We've covered those a couple of times. please ychwanegwch eich cynnig ar map Ceredigion. Please complete the survey and add your offer to the Ceredigion map, because we're going to be making a great deal of use out of that map. Arwyddwch lan, sign up to the Ceredigion Connect page so that you can chat, so you can share ideas, challenges, and we'll get a good idea of what's happening as well, and we can support. Remember about some of the things that Mike mentioned around health and safety, and we'll have a few templates on Connect, and spread the word. Rhowch wybod I bobl eraill hefyd i'ch chi'n ymwybodol ohonyn nhw yn eich cymuned. Please let others in the community know as well about the warm welcome spaces approach. The more people we can sign up, the more offers we can sign up, the more people we can help. Rhan fwyaf o cynigion ni'n gallu arwyddo lan, a fwyaf bobl ni'n mynd gallu cefnogi a cynorthwyo yn ein cymunedau. So thank you so much for your time this morning. Diolch i chi gyd am eich amser bore yma, a diolch am dangos diddordeb I fod yn rhan. Thank you very much for showing an interest in being part of the Ceredigion warm welcome spaces approach. So we will speak soon and take care. Fyddwn ni'n mewn cysylltiad cyn bo hir a cymerwch ofal. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you everyone.